Um, yeah, I just think that I've been looking at a lot of the webinars out there, and there was nothing really specific to food, you know. And honestly, there was a lot of webinars out there when I was looking at the content on food wasn't very relevant, you know, to our geography, our region. And frankly, some of them just sounded like product commercials, you know. So that's why I think I put this group together, because you guys are all very real, very relevant, you know, very transparent. And, you know, hopefully this will not be about product plugs, but more about, you know, what's really going on in the region. So look, I think we have about almost 40 people signed on. I'm gonna start this up. But first of all, everybody, thanks for joining. My name is Mustafa Koita. I'm the founder and CEO of Koita Foods. And I'll also be today's moderator for the Food Talkz series. I'm really excited about this series because, as Bilal asked earlier, I didn't feel like there was anything out there talking about our food business in the way that, you know, I thought would be valuable to an audience. And so we've got 4 series. Today's the first one, June 1st. And I'll just go through them with you. I'll do some introductions, and then I'll go into some guidelines, and we'll get right into it. But today's series is what's the new normal for consumers? So it'll be very consumer driven. On June 8th, the title is Work Redefined. And so everyone's going to talk about their HR issues and people management issues. June 15th, the title is, and I love this title, Original Marketing Plan Scrapped. And that's all about marketing. I know my marketing plan went into the trash can, you know, a month or so ago. And then June 21st is called Making Stuff Work. And I think everyone will talk about the supply chain and the operational issues around the food business. I think that's exciting. I want to do some intros. We have an amazing panel that we're working with. First, Bilal is the founder and CEO of B&B. It's a conglomerate. Anytime I hear the word conglomerate, I know this person's a big shot because he runs a conglomerate. But they're into manufacturing, lots of different foods. They do chocolates, Mediterranean sweets like baklava, and also healthy foods. They own a brand called Freaking Healthy, for example. They also produce Fade Fit Kids, and they recently won a contract with Walmart in the US, which is very exciting for them. So they're growing, and he's very well versed in the food business. Olivia, who was inspired by her French grandfather and her Nordic roots, started a very famous brand here in the UAE called Hello Chef. They're the region's fastest growing home delivery and prep meals company. I've used them myself, by the way, and for a guy who stinks at cooking, even you've made me look good in the kitchen. So I have to thank you for providing such a great service. Dinesh is the director and 3rd generation owner of Choitrams. They're one of the oldest retail chains in the region. Choitrams also does distribution, by the way. And I think what's interesting about Dinesh is that he started his career at the bottom of the food chain, per se, and really worked his way to the top. He's seen every facet of that business, and I have a lot of respect for him as a 3rd generation person entering the business, going through all of that. And he has a lot of great insight on the business. And then last but not least, we've got Chef Izu, our celebrity chef, my man. And he helped start La Petite Maison. Anyone who's in the fine dining scene here in the UAE knows LPM. He then went on to starting Le Sur. He's now involved with Gaia, Carine, and Lighthouse. Every time I see Izu, I gain like a kilo and a half. It's a very bad habit, but he's got amazing food, and he's extremely passionate and artistic in how he develops, you know, food for people in his restaurants. So a couple things I want to plant seeds about that I think is really unique about this panel. And, you know, Bilal even mentioned it yesterday when we were doing our prep, is that you have some businesses here that through COVID, their business has decreased. They've been affected negatively, and it's been pretty painful. You've got some businesses that have seen a great increase, and their issues are how do they scale, you know? You also, within this panel, have all different segments of the food business. You've got FMCG brands, whether it's Koita, manufacturing, retail, F&B, fine dining, home delivery, meal prep. So hopefully you'll get a nice array of diverse answers around the food biz. And I'm really lucky to know all you guys. I can assure the audience that no one's gonna be shy on this panel. This is not about product plugs or anything. We wanna keep it real and talk about the issues and talk about some of our forward thinking and some of the solutions in the future. Couple guidelines before we get into it. Panelists, let's try and keep our answers to 60 to 90 seconds each. If you have any stats, that'd be great. Don't make me cut you guys off. And if you want to debate a point, just raise your hand or shoot me a note in the chat, please, and I'll call on you guys. And then just keep your thing on mute when you're not talking so there's less echo. For the audience, for those who haven't used Zoom before, you'll see all of the panelists right now, but on your side, the video and the audio will be turned off, but you can communicate through us through the chat. The most important thing for all of the audience members, please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I think the more questions, the merrier. We want to keep this very interactive. And there's a Q&A button that you can press at the bottom of the screen, and that's where you can enter the questions. And as we go through it, I'll look at the questions and I'll pick some of those and ask the relevant attendees. So please fill up the question and answer section if you can. So look, let's get into it. I wanted to start off by asking some general questions to all of you and then a couple specific ones later. But I wanted to start with where do you guys feel kind of eating and buying trends are moving right now? What have you seen? What are the biggest eating and buying trends on the consumer side? Dinesh, you know, as a retailer, you've seen a lot going on with eating and buying trends with all the products you sell across your chains. I wanted to start with you. Could you give us a little bit of insight there on what's, you know, on the eating side, what's increasing, maybe what's decreasing? Hopefully it's not Koita milk, by the way, and then any buying trends as well.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because we've been through different kind of consumer patterns over the last few months. So if I go back to the very beginning of sort of around March time, when it was announced that it was a pandemic, you had a lot of panic buying occur. And in this period, you had things such as even canned foods, which had become a kind of redundant category over the years, kind of reignite people also stocking up on frozen vegetables. So you kind of had spikes in these sort of categories because there was a fear that, you know, we might not be able to get fresh produce. People were kind of buying largely everything across the board. You know, you had, you know, I think all of you would have seen sites and images on social media or yourselves when you went to the store of things just being cleared out, very, very large queues at the checkout. There was distress at that point. So if I come right now, and you know, I think now things have kind of calmed down. Panic buying's definitely subsided. People are continuing to buy fresh. People are buying a lot more from scratch. Everyone's become a pastry chef at home, making banana bread, making delicious cakes. Funnily enough, my bakery sales on my confectionery side, so things like cakes and donuts, have actually reduced. If I look at my overall baking category, where things like breads and stuff have kind of stayed the same, but people are definitely baking a lot more at home. That is definitely for sure.
Oh, that's great. In terms of baking, is there a number one product that people are trying to make at home? Is banana bread number one right now?
Banana bread with Koita milk.
All right, good. Well, that's interesting to hear. All right, I want to shift the conversation. Olivia, you've got a slightly different model. You've been delivering to a lot of the homes, and to what Dinesh said, the kind of from scratch thing has been happening. What have you been seeing in your business? I know you're also a hybrid of online, and in fact, Koita, we've noticed an increase of around 300 to 350% in increase in online sales across about 10 countries. What are you seeing in online and also your offering?
So because we only have an online business, so we don't have any sort of brick and mortar store, we were very lucky. So I think this situation has been, you know, just extremely good for us because we had the infrastructure set up. And for sure, sales increased nearly overnight, you know, 100%. So you can imagine the, you know, the excitement and the other kind of operational issues that we can talk about later on, but what that brings to a business. But yeah, the growth has been great. People are definitely cooking, and what we can see in terms of products that sell more. So I had a look at this. So for sure, while people are still looking for healthy options, I think because families are now staying at home all day long. So I think people go much more for sort of comfort food, things that the whole family can enjoy. Lots of children have started Instagram accounts, you know, to show their cooking skills, and you know, all that is great for us. But in terms of the trends, you know, I think we've just been really lucky to be in the right business at the right time when something like this has happened, with the infrastructure ready to go and good suppliers like Koita milk.
Oh God, come on guys, you gotta stop plugging me. But hey, when you say comfort food, what kind of comfort foods are popular right now?
So anything that the whole family can enjoy, because what's been happening in Dubai in particular, I think it's a trend that you know is everywhere, but I think Dubai has been particularly easy to cater for this, is that everybody in the family has a different diet. They follow a different kind of way of eating. The parents might eat keto, the children eat something else, for the baby they mash something else. So it's been, you know, it's quite difficult to cater for the Dubai family. But recently we see that, you know, your basics like a good lasagna, a good spag bol, you know, good homemade posh fish fingers, things like that everybody enjoys and loves, I think have been really popular.
And has anything been decreasing in terms of consumer requests? I mean, I know comfort food is on the rise. Has anything been kind of going down or stagnant? I'm just curious.
Well, we've also seen an increase on vegan and vegetarian food. That's anyway started already in January. So I don't think it's got anything to necessarily do with the current situation. I think everybody's been watching What the Health and some of these other you know, Netflix documentaries on food, and that's been also interesting for us and interesting for our chefs, because they get to develop it's very different approach to cooking. But yeah, no, I think in general it's across the board, from, you know, not too crazy healthy to comfort food to lots of things to do with children. I think it's been popular.
Oh, thanks so much. Okay, Bilal, I want to move to you because you actually produce a number of products across a number of ranges. I'd love to hear your perspective on kind of what are the eating and buying habits you've seen, because you again, you hit a couple different areas.
Right, so I'll build up a little bit on Dinesh and Olivia. So we've seen, you know, we manufacture Mediterranean sweets, chocolates, protein bars, dips and condiments, and so on. In terms of fresh items, so products that you find in bakery like baklava, we've noticed that people are demanding stuff to be more packaged now. So pre-COVID, we used to sell a lot in terms of bulk sales. People buy per kilo. But right now, and I think this could be one of the reasons that, you know, people started buying less pastry, is people prefer packaged stuff where they think it's safer. And in fact, particularly in the last 2 months, our sales of pre-packed items have tripled versus pre-COVID.
So could you give me an example of something that's more packaged? Could you just walk me through what that means?
Right. So if you walked into Carrefour today, Spinneys, Waitrose, you would find Choitrams. You would find our baklava stores, okay, our shop and shops, and traditionally these sweets were purchased in bulk. So you would choose and mix and match your kilo. But today, I mean, one of the things we did as soon as this started was pre-pack them into, you know, half a kilo, 1 kilo boxes. And we've noticed that, you know, the sales of those have gone up, whereas sales of bulk, because we kept the bulk counter, sales of bulk have diminished significantly. And throughout all the products we produce, it's been the same trend, particularly in Saudi, for example. We service a lot of traditional trade retailers that are used to selling, for example, chocolate gifting. And, you know, when people come to your house, you would have this big tray of chocolate per kilo. And even that changed into pre-packed items, because, you know, people are always now conscious about picking things with their own hands, or the person in the store doing the same. So that's one trend we've seen, and we've moved towards very fast. Second one, building on Olivia and healthy eating, we've also noticed our business during these times a part of it has gone down significantly, and a part of it has tripled in size. Everything to do with the healthy food sector has exploded, because I think everyone now is very aware of, you know, you have to build your immunity and so on. So that segment is very hot right now.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear. Chef Izu, what have you seen in your space, in the fine dining space? I know the restaurants were practically shut down for a while. I know they've recently opened. I'm very happy about that, by the way, especially I want to go to Gaia soon. But what are some of the things, the trends that you've seen in terms of consumers across all of your platforms?
I mean, it's just recently that we've got back to business, so we can't really tell if people or consumers have changed their habit. But one thing I have noticed between the restaurants I have, I think people feel more, more happier to go to a place where it's more airy, like Carine. You get the covers of since we have the license to get the alcohol and everything. The covers have just went up the roof because people feel that being in an open space or greenery gives them that kind of, wow, I have the space I have between others, because like DIFC is more of a compact place where a lot of people want to be seen, they want to be haggling, and you know how it is. So I think that's where the changes will happen in the restaurant business, because I think people will go towards places that are more open air and less compact, because they feel more comfortable. The space is there, and whenever you see greenery, you think of freshness, and it's more of a psychological kind of impact. But on the eating side, I mean, I think we'll have to wait and see how people are eating. The first few days we opened Gaia, the spend was, we had less covers, but the spend was very normal. So I don't think that COVID is going to impact on a restaurant or how people order, depending on the type of restaurant you have. I think people will be more concerned more about the price effect more than what they're going to eat, because I think if you have less in your pocket, you're going to be more, more selective of where you go.
Yeah. So Gaia just opened up, I know, a couple days ago. So what capacity are you guys open at right now?
I mean, the capacity it hasn't been restricted. You just have to keep the distances between tables. So it depends what's the surface area you have in your venue. But what we've done, we've kind of kept all the tables, so we haven't removed the table because we don't want to feel. We want to keep as much of the ambience as possible. So we've left the tables and just put like little cute notes on each table that you can't sit on, so people think, oh, there's a table there we can sit up. And anyway, guys, you have to reserve to come in. It's not like you walk in and you just park yourself. So we have left that to keep as much of the ambience as we can. But in Carine, we've removed the table because of the venue, because everybody, it's a golf club. So people, whenever they see a table, they just park themselves.
Golf course out there, so you've got a lot of air for sure. Okay, that's really cool. So that kind of segues into my next line of questions. And, as we've seen, these new trends, right? And, everyone knows that people are moving online. People are more health conscious. People want to cook at home. You gotta switch up the fine dining experience. For the next 12 months, what are you guys doing to adapt and capture, some of these new trends? For example, I can tell you, at Koita, since we've seen a spike in online sales, we've invested more of our P&L to our online delivery capability and our online marketing. That's been a change that we've done. So I'll go back to you, Dinesh, kind of in the Choitrams scape. Where are you guys now investing your dollars? Where are you looking to invest more to this new sort of environment?
Yeah, so we've seen our online business have a strong double-digit growth since the pandemic. And we definitely feel that the propensity of shoppers moving from bricks and mortars to online will definitely grow in momentum as a result of this. I mean, if you just think, if you look at a guy like Amazon, if I take an example just over there, they were one company which was incredibly resilient in this crisis because people, in essence, were ordering and buying more online than ever before. If I take my own parents for that matter, or people of their age and generation who weren't necessarily used to ordering online. Now they are ordering online. Currently, right now, you've got a restriction in the UAE where people are 60 plus can't go to the supermarket. So they're either going to have a family member buy for them, or they're going to have to go online. So I think definitely there is going to be more of a stream of consumers shopping online. And we are gearing up our infrastructure, upgrading our technology platforms, our user experience, look and feel to help capitalize that business.
Cool. Oh, thanks so much. Olivia, what are you doing now to kind of future-proof and capture some of these trends? You know, where are you looking at investing your dollars, say, the next 12 months?
So I think, as Dinesh said, we're similarly, technology is, I think, the biggest one for us. So we've been, if anybody's been on LinkedIn recently, we've got quite a few roles open, and we've been really quite aggressive. So I have to say, since so basically we had plans for the year, and while some of it was trashed, but I think what we decided to do is stay quite true to what the original sort of plan is, but just move faster. So it's been on turbo boost, and so technology is number one. Just like Dinesh said, lots of
Sorry, Olivia. Yeah, when you say technology, like, from a user consumer perspective, what would they see different maybe from a technology investment that you'd make? What are you trying to do with the tech, basically?
So they would see a better user experience, but most importantly for us, it's the capabilities in the background to be able to cope with the demand, potentially start working on customization. When people are ordering more, people will have more requests, more special demands, special requests. So for sure, that's like a huge thing to move forward. I think much faster than we anticipated. And because the people that are not so tech savvy are now, having to go online to place orders, we're definitely seeing a huge increase in customer service time spent on the phone, supporting customers. So we've like doubled that team as well in the last few months.
And how has it been finding people like that right now in this environment?
Finding people is quite easy. There's a lot of good people out there at the moment. Obviously, screening and scanning them, as anybody who's doing hiring in the Middle East, is quite painful. But onboarding, making sure that people, you just interview them over the phone a couple of times, you send them their laptop through, Amazon, and you start like implementing them and incorporating them in the team. Well, and so it's another.
That's good. We'll save some of this for the HR series, which is I think which is next week. But that's very interesting to see that where you're investing, in terms of tech. Bilal, how about yourself? I mean, you obviously saw a trend in healthy eating. Are you investing more in that segment right now? I mean, where do you see, next 12 months, where do you see your investments changing or going towards?
Right, so I'd say two parts here, right? The first part is because everything is moving towards, healthier lifestyles. We've just launched our gluten-free factory for bread, for example, and desserts. We're investing heavily in manufacturing towards the healthier food segment. So that's one of the main places we're focusing. But the second thing I want to highlight is everyone's talking now about pivoting and about the new world that we're going to be living in and so on. And here at BNB we realize that right now, short term things are totally different than they were a few months ago. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to food, even though people are becoming healthier, but people still eat chocolate, and people will still consume the let's say wide range of food, as Olivia was talking about, the fish fingers and so on, even though some will move to vegetarian lifestyles. So our strategy there is more dominate the market, eat market share, because I think one of the hardest things right now, to be honest, is survival. What we'll see is maybe the next 3 months are going to be an adjustment for the region as we've all come out of our quarantine and lockdowns. And maybe from now to the end of the year, we'll find that, you know, the market has come back to what is a new normal, but I don't think the trends of eating are going to be that significant. Like, they're not going to change significantly to before. I think what's going to happen is between the reduction in population and between the disposable income, I think that's only going to be the difference in your market size. And for us, we're just going to double down on, you know, what we do already, but just in terms of eating market share. So it's not about just focusing on one segment. I think all segments could do well, but I think it's how long can you wait it out?
Yeah, okay. So focusing on the basics, and it sounds like you're waiting to ride out until some of these patterns come back, as they were pre-COVID. Is that basically what?
I think it's a mix of, in some cases, waiting is not an option, right? So it's not just sitting there and waiting it out. It's to be actively innovating. You know, pricing is a big thing. Just to give you some stats on Saudi, you know, we service around 2,000 traditional trade customers there, and we've noticed the people who've done discounts over Eid, which was a lockdown, achieved 80% of last year's revenues, versus people who just, you know, stood their ground, and those guys did about 30-40% of last year's numbers. So it goes to show, you know, you definitely have to make a move, but sometimes pivoting to start making face masks is not always the solution.
Yeah, well, you know, that brings up an interesting point, because, you know, you want to be able to ride out the storm, and you want to, if you can, pivot. But, you know, one thing that I've heard from a lot of entrepreneurs in the community is some of them are going out of business. You know, they don't have the financial resources to ride it out even a month or 2 months, because cash flow is so tight. And so I wonder if any of you on the panel feel like, you know, maybe consumer selection, do you think consumer selection may change because, you know, at least the SME side of the food business might not be able to ride it out as well as others? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
So are you talking about in general when you know, in terms of disposable income, will consumers make a different selection?
No, I guess I was looking at the business side, you know, because as you said, I kind of felt like there is an aspect of, can you ride out the storm for a certain amount of time? And I do know there are a lot of smaller food companies that can't ride it out, you know. And I know there are not many represented here, but it is just something.
No, but I think today you're right. I think that there are a lot of businesses that are going to suffer, and so, you know, there's a choice here. You've got to do whatever it takes to survive, right? And if that means, you know, changing your business model to adapt to what exists today versus, so it depends on your business. Our business, if we do radical changes today to a business that in the long term is a strong business, it wouldn't make sense. It would be too short-sighted. But in some cases, you can't afford to be short-sighted. You have to be short-sighted because you can't afford to be long-sighted, right? Because you don't know if you can last that long. So it depends on the business.
Yeah, I know that's.
Let me add something. I mean, Bilal, it's a great point, because at the end of the day, for me, situations happen and it shows up the cracks in a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses that will go out of business were mismanaged or didn't have a great product. So riding out the wave, probably they haven't got the right tools. And coming back to my sector, in a sense, where am I investing my dollars, or where do I see things happening? I am not going to pivot straight away and just, because when this happened, a lot of restaurants went on to delivery. And when you have a business model that goes onto a different platform, there's a lot of, I don't think we give a lot of respect for that platform that is designed to do what it's meant to do. Bricks and mortar is different. We are a social element of society. You can't just move that onto line, because when people go out, it's not just about the food. It's about the whole social gathering. It's a social interaction, exchange. And that a lot of restaurateurs, for me, have made a mistake in jumping onto that bandwagon and not understanding what it takes to do the online business. Because I always use this kind of analogy, in a sense. You got Tesla, it's a car maker. It just focuses on electric. It doesn't focus on fossil fuels or anything. You just focus on one element, and you got Audi, which is focused on many different fields. It's not going to run as quick as Tesla. So for me, in this pandemic and in what's going on, it's challenging people to update their model, what they're doing. Because when you get a phone, you normally update it every whatever to be relevant. That is normal. So it's asking us all questions: are we relevant for today?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm not going to change my model, because my model of restaurant society has always been to keep to keep awake. I mean, I'm a person that I like to take on new challenges. I do different restaurants. I mean, I opened an Asian restaurant. I'm not Asian. I opened a Greek restaurant. I definitely don't look Greek. But and I opened a French restaurant, which I'm definitely not French, but I lived there. But the thing is, I'm just saying that sometimes we're too quick to react. And I agree with Bilal. You can't just wait it out. You have to keep thinking. So now we reopen. There's many elements of the business that we have to rethink. On the other side, there's other business ventures that I'm thinking now to focus on, but I want to do it properly. I want to do it focused for that, not just do a hybrid or just trying to lump things. And consumers are going to be more selective. They're going to be more, they want the satisfaction for their dollar. So you can't just say, okay, I'm just going to put this model into a delivery and they're going to pay it.
So Chef Izu, you know, along that lines, you know, you brought up a point earlier that, you know, some of the fine dining restaurants, in fact, in the region started doing deliveries. And I understand your concept of, hey, it's more about the experience, not just about, you know, delivering the food here. Do you think, I mean, fine dining has a place in the delivery space? I mean, and how could it work if it were to? I assume, I don't know where Gaia is right now. I don't think you guys deliver, but I mean, where do you see the fine dining space and the delivery space? How do you see those?
I mean, you've asked me, I think, more than one question, because let's take fine dining. Fine dining is a notion. It's a notion of like having something up your rear end and being a bit uptight. That's not fine dining. Fine dining for me, it also has to be defined by each person who's doing food, because fine dining is choosing the right ingredients. Even if it's a burger, it has to be the right bun, the right flour that makes the right bun, the right meat, the right ingredient. For me, that's fine dining. And that's where I've always stood whenever someone challenges me on fine dining. Fine dining is not having cutleries and crockery that cost too much money. I'm not going to eat that plate. I'm not going to eat that to China. So, and then the next thing is, as you say, the expensive restaurants, I will give it that name, have a platform on delivery. Yes and no. Because don't forget, when I don't order much. I don't even order, but I won't pay 500 dirhams per person to deliver it in my home. I wouldn't. If you do, I would do it maybe once a year. I don't have the capacity to do it. And those who have the capacity, they'll probably throw a party in their house. So that's a different realm.
Or they'll call Hello Chef and use Olivia's solution. No, but that's an interesting point. Is you're not going to go. What's the whole point if you're going to spend that kind of money? I see what you're saying. You want to be in the environment.
Exactly. So this is where, I mean, this situation is also got me thinking of different elements of what I do and how can I take part in this element. But it doesn't mean I just take one and just put it there. No, I have to rethink the whole model, because delivery platform is a completely different world to a brick and mortar restaurant feel, because you go there to have fun, exchange. And on a delivery line, it's all about getting the product to the customer.
Yeah.
And that at the cost price, because it has to be basically economically justifying for you to do it. And I think that's where I'm putting my head at as well, to understand the whole world before I do anything.
And try and figure that out. Okay, cool. Hey, I want to move a little bit to some hygiene issues in all of your respective food environments, because hygiene is, you know, paramount to consumers right now. Dinesh, have you had, you know, you have a lot of foot traffic going through all your stores around the region. Have you had any hygiene issues? I heard about a fight that went down, you know, the other day. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about that. But you know, there are new problems that are coming up. I just want to know, what are some of the things that have happened, and how are you planning to resolve some of those hygiene issues?
Well, we had a dodgy box of Koita milk which came in the other day, but called in the bomb squad and has dealt with fast.
Yeah. I'm getting plugs and ripped on at the same time. It's the last time I curate a panel, but go on.
So no, I mean, obviously there has been guidance from the authorities, and it was kind of in line with our own ethos and what we kind of set off with to begin with, and also what our other friends in the market have been doing as well. So from a consumer point of view, we were limiting the amount of consumers we had in the store at one point. So there were some small queues at times, very busy times, being built outside the store. We obviously, all the consumers coming in had to wear face masks, wear gloves. We do have sort of stickers across the store advising on guidelines and social distancing measures. I did mention to you about one consumer who got a bit irate that another consumer was getting too close to them at checkout. Look, I think these situations do cause a lot of fear and anxiety across people as well. I think caution is definitely important, but there is a fine line between the two. So I think, but at the same time, I think it's important that we respect each other's space. We have always, in terms of our own in-house QHSE, we've taken rampant measures in terms of store cleanliness. We've always prided ourselves on being a supermarket operator which operates at the highest standards, so we've only really elevated that in this period as well. We're not going to take any shortcuts. We're not going to try to cut any corners.
Right now, for supermarkets, how many people are you allowed in per supermarket?
Yeah, it varies from, because for us we have stores which operate at a 1,500 square foot level. We also have stores which are at a 30,000 square foot level. So I can't necessarily specifically say to each one, but to be very honest, what we've also noticed is that our footfall has actually reduced. What's happened is people are coming less frequently and shopping more. So just out of as a result and by reaction, that itself has been the solution of the problem in one sense. So again, it's been very, very minute and a handful of cases, but in that sense, we've been able to manage most of our stores with capacity.
Okay, cool. And Olivia, on the delivery side, how are you dealing with hygiene issues when you're delivering your products to hundreds and hundreds of people every day? How do you take an extra care with your drivers, delivery people? Where do you see that moving?
So yeah, we work with a third-party delivery company. So it was one of the first things we did. I think this kind of all escalated around the 12th of March, and it was just instant phone call and over the weekend trying to figure out the best policy for no contact delivery as much as possible. So, and people were extremely interested about that. So this is what people are also demanding. And we get feedback in case a driver has not read the memo or forgets in that moment, because people are trying to be as good at their job as possible, and smile face and come and bring the box is quite heavy. So they see somebody at the door and they think, oh, let me just take the box closer, but we do get complaints if ever that happens, so we're able to instantly correct. But that was I think we moved super fast with that, and that worked really well. I think most important for us, and we've gotten good feedback from our customers, is just quite regular, transparent communication. So we would collect FAQs, like whatever people would ask mostly during the week. We put that aside, and especially at the beginning of times, we would once a week, kind of a really quick, because we have mostly repeat customers with a nice relationship for over a certain period of time. So we do send them quick insights on what's happening quite transparently. So I think they've really appreciated that. People do ask about the source of the ingredients, and there's been a little bit of a, do you have anything from China? So that was like for the first few weeks, People really didn't want to wanted to make sure they don't have any ingredients from China in their box, and to be honest, it's quite difficult to source garlic from somewhere else at the standards and the quantities that we needed, but we overcame that as well. But yeah, otherwise it's similar to before. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, listen, I have another general question I want to ask all of you, and then we'll go into, we got a bunch of audience questions as well I've been sent. But here's a quick one I want to get from each of you. I want to poll you guys. When do you think things will go back to normal? And so what I'm saying is, I'd say about 95% normal. Let's say that. It's never going to, I can understand it's never going to go 100% back. And I understand it's also somewhat dependent on regulation and consumer confidence, but what's your guess? I want to ask each of you, give me in months. Hopefully it's not years, but hopefully a month's answer. But Bilal, what's your best guess on when things? I'm gonna take a poll and then I'm gonna average it out right now for everyone. I'm gonna do some quick math.
Like I said, yeah. So like I said earlier, I think that this summer we're all figuring out: is there going to be a second lockdown? Is there not? How is it going to affect? Depending, we're not also looking at the UAE alone. We're looking at the region. So I guess when you read the news, you see Kuwait, Bahrain, and Saudi at different times in this. But normal meaning, if you discount the population size and if you look at the disposable income, if you put those aside and then look at the, I think we'll be surprised. I think that, you know, between September and December,
So you're saying about 6 months from now?
I'm saying at worst case, 6 months from now. At best case, 3 months from now.
Okay, so you're 3 to. I'm gonna put you at 6. I'm gonna put you at 6.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna wade in on that one because as soon as we.
Izu, what's your bet on things coming 95% back to normal? Give me a month.
I mean, I'm a very optimistic person. I really do believe in the human nature that we all love and respect. Because as soon as we opened the door in Gaia on Thursday, I mean, we have people walking in. As soon as they walk in, there was a young lady, very, very attractive. She walked in. She went like this. She took off her mask like it was like a fashion show. It was like to see the room buzzing again and everybody, I mean, excited because people want to live. At the end of the day, we are not creatures of hibernation that we want to lock ourselves away from the evil virus and all that. Yes, there is concerns. Yes, we have to take precautions. Yes, but I do believe that I mean, with all this happening, I mean, I made a quote which is very relevant. Common sense has left us. I mean, it should be a superpower because nowadays, I mean, with all you talked about what you've taken measures for health and whatever, but to be honest, I've always said all my kitchens have been open kitchens, so you can see what I do. It's never hidden. You've been downstairs to Gaia. You've been upstairs.
Yeah, no, I've been there. I've been there.
Exactly.
It's
so
wonderful.
I haven't changed in my protocol of keeping clean because for me it's a respect. It's a respect that I have for my profession and for the people that come and eat in my establishment. So
No,
I
that's
do
great.
believe.
So, Chef Izu, give me some months. Let's get.
I will put my neck out and say between 3 or 4 months because I do believe people want to
3
live.
and 4.
Who doesn't want to live and who want to get back to normal?
I'm gonna put you at 4. I'm gonna put you at 4. Okay. All right. So I got Izu at 4. I'm gonna go to Olivia next. Olivia, what are you putting your money on?
Gosh, I'm gonna sound like the the Finnish person, you know, with doom and gloom. But I'm more thinking in terms of, you know, without looking at the long-term economical impact of things. I'm thinking more. I'm mentally getting ready for February. Oh,
You've gone.
we can't hear you. Sorry.
Sorry. So February. So that's how many months away? Give me a number. Is that 8 months?
So what's that? That's about 8 months. 9 months. Yeah.
So people are going to go through a new year not having fun.
Olivia's not going to get her New Year's Eve kiss. Olivia's not going to.
Have you ever been at a Finnish New Year's party? Do you know what happens at those?
Okay. So Olivia,
Finnish fika. Have a cup of tea.
Okay, so Olivia, I got you down for 8 months, right? Okay, Dins, you're next. What do you think?
So, I mean, I would actually give a lot of credit to the authorities here, because I feel they've been a lot more progressive in opening things back up than if we compare to the rest of the world. So I think that's quite encouraging for a start. You know, I'm sure for a lot of countries to get to where we have, they're probably talking 3-4 months away at that point. I think, you know, it's really saying, well, what is normal, Mustafa? Is it sort of being able to hop on a plane again? Is it tourists coming into town? Is it restaurants being able to operate at a higher capacity?
Yeah, just for argument's sake, I'm saying, you know, masks are off. The social distancing has been limited. You know, some of the hygiene restrictions have been dialed back to pre-COVID days. Not 100%, but close to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look. I think, you know, I think one step at a time. I think, you know, if we're in line that the number of cases aren't kind of spiking up with.
Dinesh, you got to give me a number. Let's go.
I want to say I'm hoping next sub 3 months.
Oh wow, that's assertive. Okay, 3 months. So let me do the quick math. By the way, I'm gonna say I have an optimist and a pessimist living inside my head. So I'm kind of in the middle. So I'm gonna put myself at 6 months. So if we do an average for this panel, we've got Dinesh at 3 plus 6 equals 27 divided by 5. So we're at an average of around about 5.5 months. We're averaging around 5.5 months. Olivia, obviously, you know, skewed it a little bit to the longer side, but that's not bad. I mean, if we're anywhere 2 months before or after that, that's you know, I think. Would you say it's probably different than what I had thought a month ago? You know, I was a bit more negative on the
But
the view.
Dinesh had a good point as well. What is the new normal? Is it people flying from all over the world to come here, or are we now basically relying on the residents of Dubai to get back to? I mean, you come to a restaurant, come to Gaia or go to Carine. As soon as people walk in there, they're still going mwah, mwah. So for me, people want to live again. People don't want to be standing off, because we need that human interaction. So, but will people be flying over to America or to London in the next 6 months? Probably not, because they're still cautious. So,
but if you don't mind me adding to that, Izu, I think that I agree with you. I think that people do want to live again. All you have to see is last Friday and the beach, and you see that as soon as, you know, restrictions come down, people will go out, eat, you know, enjoy nature. But the trick here is, I mean, especially if you're a company that works in multiple geographies, right? So I think the timing in every country is definitely going to be different. I think businesses relying on tourists versus businesses that are relying on, you know, the local population. So going from Dubai Mall to Mall of the Emirates, you can see a difference, right? One is very tourist focused. One is very, you know, local focused. So I think that's what the difference is here. But I think we can all agree that, you know, the new normal, actually the new normal is people feeling comfortable to go out, shop, eat outside, and so on, right? So if that's the new normal, then yes, I'd say, you know, between 4 and 6 months, that can happen. But when will the world open up for trade again? When will the whole world be feeling like this? I think this summer is key. I think every country where the news is going to come out in the next 3 months.
That's a great point, Bilal. Hey, I just have a question for Izu that came through. They want to know at restaurants like Gaia, what are the consumers most concerned with on the hygiene side? This is another hygiene question. You know, have there been any issues with consumers? Have there been any complaints, you know, on, you know, space of the tables or, you know, the utensils or anything like that? There's just they wanted to hear a little bit more color around that.
No, it's a great question. In Gaia, we have no complaints as I know it. But I do feel that if you choose to go out to a restaurant, you must be comfortable in a certain way, because we can't protect you as restaurateurs. It's impossible. We can't work in the kitchen. It's impossible that we can work 2 meters away from each other. Yeah, and the service and everything. And in Carine, we had somebody made a few comments, which for me, I take it on board. I absorb. I won't comment negatively, but I do think that if you're
what were the comments?
I mean, because now the menus in Gaia is still paper. In Carine, we have a QR code. So the waiter was showing the guest the menu on his phone, and he touched his phone. He was wearing gloves. That was that, but he was a bit too sensitive in the sense that he's wearing gloves and he touched his phone. I get it, but we are also trying to help you to enjoy your environment, to enjoy your experience, because you chose to enjoy that experience outside. So I that's the only thing I get worried about. People become too oversensitive, because you have to understand that we're here to please you, not to put you in danger. I mean, we will make mistakes. Right? Nobody's perfect. And also, always put a mask on and everything. I get that, but also you ruin the experience of the guest when you don't see the smile of the person serving you, and the banter, the interaction. And that is a part of because for me, dining is a theater. You go out to enjoy a play. You watch us to play. You watch us move with elegancy, knowing our stuff, conversing with you. And all that is a part of the enjoyment of going out. So, I'm fighting.
It sounds like there's going to be, it sounds like there's some teething issues that you're still going through. You guys are learning as you kind of go.
But I want, for me, I'm very, very positive kind of person. I do believe that humans are meant to be living with bacteria and everything. We are made of bacteria, because I make a sourdough bread, pure bacteria, which is in the air. Your body assumes it better than a bacteria which is made in a lab. So I'm one of these guys that I always go natural. I'm a person that I prefer that you eat something that you recognize than something that's been contrived in a lab. So this is where I always say to people, don't be fearful of the bacteria that we've lived with all these years that protect us. That these are not harmful for us. They only become harmful for us when we run away from it.
No, that's a really good point. Hey, we have another question that's come in. I think I'm going to throw it to Dinesh, but someone's asking how many months of food security do we have in staple categories in Dubai? I don't know if you've as a retailer, if you've been exposed to some color around that question.
So, I mean, generally, if I see it, our own imports and also what our wholesalers kind of keep, generally people keep around 45 to 60 days worth of inventory. If I kind of talk to you about the cycle of when panic buying started, I think you did see pockets of things going out of stock. But at the same time, it's because you had shipments kind of en route. And at the very beginning, when we kind of felt and anticipated the panic buying, we also ramped up our orders. There was. I wouldn't say there have been any mass out of stock situations. Yes, you might not find your favorite condiment or favorite cereal brand, but it's not like you're going to walk down the supermarket aisles and see anything in it. There are certain regions, like for example, if I take India right now, India is still under a very severe lockdown. We're seeing manufacturing out of India, especially in food, being relatively unfulfilled. But from Europe, from the US, from Australia, we're generally seeing quite a lot of comfort in what's been coming through.
So another thing that I've seen on the book side is that we've, a lot of consumers have dealt with stockouts. For example, we stocked out, I think, twice during the peak of the COVID time. A lot of that, like you said, was due to panic buying. And a lot of that a lot of consumers don't know the supply chains globally got affected. So when we're importing from Europe, just getting shipping equipment and vessels and things like that were all messed up for a while. I think maybe you and Bilal, as you import large amounts of quantities in, have seen that. So what we've done on the consumer side is we've actually increased our stock and buffer levels. So we would, for example, for one SKU, cooking cream, for example, has skyrocketed in sales. So we'd buffer 2 to 4 weeks of stock. Now we probably keep over a month of buffer stock. So we've also done that on. So I think suppliers and government have been looking at, making sure they're less and less stock outs.
I've got a complaint to make to Dinesh. He ran out of the golden syrup from a pecan pie. I mean, I went to order Choitrams, it all ran out. Dinesh, sort that out, man.
I'll organize you a special batch. Hey,
I want to try some of that pecan pie as well. All right, cool, guys. We're just coming up on 3 o'clock. I wanted to give everyone a final 1 minute, if you had any final comments on consumer trends, and then I'll wrap it up. So, Bilal, any final thoughts on the consumer right now, moving forward?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to distinguish between what is a temporary trend and what's a permanent one, right? And I don't think we have the answer just yet. The next 3 months will be key to taking a look at what sticks and what doesn't. So when we're navigating or pivoting away from our current model, it's important to try and kind of distinguish between both. So you end up with the sticking trends rather than you've done the change and then you have to go back to the way it used to be.
Okay, that's great. Dinesh, any final comments?
Sorry. I would say I think it's really important that people kind of grow the confidence to start living normally again. I believe we're all hinged to each other in this. All our well-beings, all our businesses. Even people that say to me right now, "Oh, your business is doing great," but not once would I rejoice in having a higher peak of sales right now, because I know when that wave subsides in the coming months, the last quarter of the year or next year, it's going to be painful. And for our business, a few percent hit really eats into our bottom line completely. So I would really encourage consumers to grow in that confidence, to support local businesses, to start living normally again, because look, everything I'm saying is, live cautiously, take precautions. I'm not saying to have, don't have a party of 20, 30 people at home, but I think it's important for all of us and, everyone's well-being in the UAE economy for us to start living normally again. And that's why I kind of gave you the answer of 3 months, because I think the new normal, what we're going to find very quickly, is going to be staying with us for a longer period before we say reach normal 2.0. There's still a lot of uncertainty, but I think confidence and comfort is really what's required from the people right now.
All right. Oh, thanks, Dan. I like that normal 2.0. We should have named one of our titles that. But anyways, Izu, you're next. Final comments.
I love what Dinesh said about that. Well, it's a pinnacle in the sense that I think as humans we forget to engage in what we know. Where with all these things happening, we're just waiting for directives to do this, but then we just don't really think about things. We just do without thinking. And I think at the end of the day, us as humans, we need each other to thrive. The knowledge I have, I give to someone else. He's going to double it. And that is being wasted now because we're not exchanging. And I see my 2 kids at home. I see they've changed. And that saddens me because I want them to have a normal upbringing with the joy and the curiosity and discovery. When we all was a kid, we used to crawl on the floor, picking up things and putting it in our mouth. We never was frightened about the germs or whatever because we're made of it. So I don't know, now with all the things going on, we become even scared of our own little shadows or going. So I get some people have to take precautions more than others. I get that. But I also feel that we might take the negative side of things instead of the positive. And that's where I'm not afraid, but I'm a bit saddened because in the supermarket, what you said, I had the same experience when I was not far away from I was very far away from another person. Another person is shouting, "Do this, do that." Come on, being aggressive in that way. That's not how we should be. If you want to say something to somebody, say it in a way that is still respectful. And I think we've lost that. we now, a lot of people are more aggressive, and that's where I just walk away from people. I normally selective social distance before. Now I'm doing even more because I don't want to be tagged to people that don't really connect with what they know. The simple thing of being.
You think we need to chill out a little bit more?
Thank you. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I'm down with that. Well, thank you. I definitely appreciate that sentiment. Olivia, you next.
So I realize we're a bit out of time, but I think I'm a lot with Dinesh, and I've been reading a lot about what's happening in my industry, in the meal kit industry around the world, and I'm very optimistic from the home cooking perspective, and not just for our businesses and people continuing to cook at home, but just in general. You know, there's been many polls recently about, you know, people are baking and cooking, and will they continue this habit once everything goes back to normal? And you know, in one of these polls, I saw like 51% of people would definitely continue cooking much more at home. And it's not just the fact that it's great for supermarkets or great for online meal kits like ours, but it's just the general what we've been talking about, that home environment, that connecting to people, because that's what home cooking is all about. So, you know, when I want to treat myself, I'll go to Gaia, but otherwise I'll treat my family at home and create that environment at home. So I'm feeling quite positive and confident.
I love what Olivia said, because cooking at home is also a way of sharing your happiness with your family. So for me, I will always advocate cook more at home. So this is a positive that we had the opportunity to bake at home, because for me, I always say you shouldn't live a life of diet. You should live a life of a lifestyle. Cooking the food you eat, you know what you eat healthy, because that's what it's all about. You knowing what you put in your body. And when you cook it yourself, I do that for me in the restaurant, but I do that in a different setting. But at home, I cook everything, because I do believe that to eat healthy, know what you put in it.
You're lucky.
I'm really sorry. Just the last comment.
You can actually cook. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Olivia.
So just because of COVID as well, the thing is that actually, and this is real facts, is that cooking improves mental health, because it is just one of those things where you create something, you succeed at something, you share something. So in this particular situation as well, just keep on cooking at home.
Okay, so guys, thank you so much. I think, you know, what I'm so excited about this panel. What I gathered are some of the big takeaways is there's a lot of positivity here within the entrepreneurs in business. We're looking at five and a half months to get back to normal 2.0 was the takeaway I got. So I'm betting my money on that. Let's see what happened. And then the last thing I'll just remind everyone. So thank you everyone to the panelists. Thank you to all the attendees. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to get to all your questions, but we want to keep it an hour. The next one is June 8th, called Work Redefined, and we'll talk about all the HR issues, which Olivia touched on. June 15th, Original Marketing Plan Scrapped, and then June 21st, Making Stuff Work, which is Ops and Supply Chain. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate all your time. Have a good day.
Thank you.